All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm excited for today because today is one. I know this is a favorite story, anyways. I've preached on it many of times because I really like this story. But the story of Elijah fleeing and being on the mountain and seeing God, it's a story that deserves the time to take it slow, which is why this is all we're discussing is the one chapter, because it is chocked full of symbolism that I can't even get into on a Sunday morning, because 20 minutes is not enough time to kind of pick apart all the pieces. So I'm just going to say right now at the head of the hour, get ready. I'm going to be flipping to different parts of the Bible that we have already looked at. So, if you are a person who can find verses very quickly, I'm going to ask some other people to be readers, just so I'm not talking the whole time, but we're going to get a little bit back from Exodus. We're going to get some from Deuteronomy. We're going to flip forward to the Gospel of Luke because there's just a lot here that is very important. So, oh, and we have Larry.
Yeah.
Yes, there I am in Stratford.
Oh, all right.
Oh, fine.
Aw.
I finally got on my iPhone. For some reason, I can't get my iPad to work. But
Oh, well, we're glad you're with us
I'm
even from
here.
afar. I was
Okay.
just telling the group that we're gonna take this passage slow because there's a lot of symbolism in it, but we're also going to be jumping to other parts in the Bible. So with that,
Okay.
let us jump in straight into the verse. Last time we heard about Elijah and the prophets of Baal going head to head in their competition of the gods. Build an altar, see what God shows up. Baal did not show up all day long. Elijah made fun of him, and then Elijah had a bunch of water poured on the altar and then said, God, show up, and God showed up. The prophets of Baal were killed, and that's where it leads us today. Elijah was, if you remember, following King Ahab as he returned to like one of his palaces, and then it opens up today that like Ahab like runs in the palace and says, Jezebel, this is what happened, and she's not happy. So evidently she wasn't there, she didn't see all of this, but if you remember, she is the one who brought this worship. She is a worshiper of Baal, and she was just told that over 400 of her people were just murdered by Elijah. So tell me what you think is going through her head right now.
I so assume that she wants revenge.
Hmm.
Um, when you say God showed up, did he show up just before Elijah decided to kill all the Baal priests, or
Hmm.
was it like so his permission or his encouragement, or I wasn't clear when I read it.
Yeah. So God showed up in the form of fire. So fire from
Oh,
heaven
okay,
came
okay,
down and lit the sacrifice on fire, not
yeah,
and burnt, and it like burnt the burnt offering. Not only that, it licked up all the water
okay,
and then consumed the other sacrifice as well. So like overwhelming
yeah,
fire.
yeah.
There, oh, I would.
So did they sort of throw the gods on the fire, or
So, this is actually a law from Deuteronomy 13 that in the land of Israel, or actually, since we're going to be flipping back and forth, let me get Deuteronomy 13 open
Deuteronomy
and we can
13?
read the verse itself. All right, so Deuteronomy 13, verse 1. If a prophet or those who divine by dreams appear among you and promise you omens or proponents, and the omens or portents, sorry, portents declare them to take place and say, let us follow other gods whom you have not known, and say, let us serve them. then you must not heed the words of those prophets or those who divine dreams, for the Lord God is testing you to know whether or not you indeed love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul. The the Lord your God you shall follow, him alone you shall fear, his commandments, and let's see, skipping
Hmm.
ahead a little bit, but those prophets or those who divine by dreams shall be put to death for having spoken treason against the Lord your God.
Okay, so that's kind of permission or encouragement or requirement.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Elijah is following the Deuteronomistic law. If people show up and tell you to worship other gods, you're supposed to kill them. And here's 400 people who are telling people to worship Baal, so you got to put them to death.
But the prophet seems a little upset about it by having done that. Was he? Uh, or
Which one?
just tired? Or
Elijah.
Oh, Elijah, hold on to our thoughts
he
about
wants
Elijah.
to die. I mean, this is in.
Hold on, we're not quite there yet.
Okay,
We'll get
sorry.
to Elijah's reaction in a moment. Yeah, Clay?
Well, Jezebel is absolutely turning the tables here. I mean, talk about, I mean, I read that and I went, boy, there's a threat. Basically, if I can't do by tomorrow what you just did to everybody else, then let the gods kill me.
Mhm.
I mean, we're gonna get it back at you. And so now Elijah's afraid. I mean, but that just love the wording of that threat was interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. So remember when we talked about Ahab and Jezebel our first day, what was our kind of character description of Jezebel? What was her motivation? What was her background? Who is this queen again? What do you all remember from our initial discussion?
Wait, I didn't get what we do.
Do you
The
all
princess
remember
of the whole
where she
king.
is? What? Yeah, Gary?
She wasn't she the high princess from another country.
Yes, exactly. So she is a Phoenician princess,
Right.
which is the technologically advanced neighbors that are Hellenistic that came from more like the Greek Isles and they ended up here. She's the one who's used to being rich and covered in purple and all of these things. So, rich princess just had all of her religious guys murdered. So when she has this venom, and to me, this sounds venomous. Clay, thank you
Mhm.
for pulling out what she said. Like, that is a heavy threat. She's putting her own life on the line for this one. We
Mhm.
can kind of see the world she is used to being in. This is some upstart who's just challenged her. This Phoenician princess who is used to power and authority.
Mhm.
So her threat is, or Elijah takes her threat very seriously. How are you
Well,
feeling if you're Elijah at this point, and all of a sudden you think you just proved to everyone that Yahweh is like the only God. Look, Baal didn't show up. I proved to you all that like the Israelite God is the only God, and then you follow the king, and now the queen is trying to kill you. What kind of emotions are you feeling in that kind of back and forth? Yeah, Clay.
Well, the way he phrases it, take away my life. I'm no better than my father's. He's really struck at the moment by his own unworthiness.
Hmm.
That, gee, what
So,
I just did, and yet, now here I am.
so why would he just like whiplash so fast? Like he was just on a high point. He just raced a chariot and won
Yeah,
in a foot race. And now
right.
he's like,
And
I want to die?
yeah, again, it's another flip-flop. I don't quite understand
Anyone
how
have an
quickly it
well,
opinion for
happens.
this one?
I at first I thought he was feeling guilty because he did this horrible thing, but uh, I guess now it seems like he was very, very frightened,
Hmm.
and he wasn't. That kind of fear isn't terribly typical. I don't think.
Hmm.
Uh, Well, of course, I don't know about the prophets in general, but he's very, very scared.
Yeah. Have other thoughts on Elijah's emotional state and why he might be all of a sudden panicking, other than the queen's trying to kill him? Like
Mhm.
why wish for
His power, the big.
Mhm. So here's a question for you all. As a child or as an adult or just thinking back in your history, have you ever done the right thing and gotten in trouble anyways?
Hmm.
Tell me about those instances when you did the right thing and got in trouble anyways.
Well,
Look at Evelyn. She yelled at me.
Yeah.
Did I tell that one?
Uh,
I went to get my friend Evelyn because my daughter called and said you can get her to the hospital better than I can, faster. So I went to her house.
she was told to go to emergency right away, so.
So I went, and she did nothing but chew me out because I'm too old and a younger person. She should come, or my daughter could come instead of me, and she chewed me out.
Hmm. So one story I remember is this is little kid Chris. My sister was in middle school, I was still in elementary school. And so my sister went to school before I did, and when I could walk to my elementary school, so as I was walking to school, I found a ring that my sister really, really liked in the driveway. And I don't know why. My brain thought, "Oh, this is my sister's ring. I'm gonna just keep it with me." I didn't think to turn around and walk it back into the house. I don't know why. But I'm like, I'm gonna keep it safe so I can return this ring to my sister. And she's gonna love me. This ring's been missing. I found it. Hoorah. Um, but I was not exactly logical. Also, my brain was not fully developed. I had this necklace on that it didn't have a clasp in the back. It was like a rigid necklace that just kind of popped around your neck. So I just took the ring and I slid it on my necklace. Because in my opinion, I would always know that it was there. If it was in my pocket, it could fall out. But if it's on my necklace, I'm going to know it's there. But I was playing in recess and the ring jangled and fell off. And I was so sad. And so it was at the end of the day, and I had a bunch of my school friends trying to find this ring, literally a ring on a soccer field. And I went home and I am crying because I'm so distraught that I lost my sister's ring after I had found it. And my sister chewed me out over it and was so angry at me. And it was like I was trying to do the right thing. And so my mother, bless her heart, took me out to it, and we found the ring in the soccer field after an hour of searching. It was a miracle unto itself. But my sister was still angry at me, and I, as a little kid, couldn't figure out why. Hello, Helen.
Hello.
Because I was trying so hard to do the right thing, and I felt like I got in trouble anyways.
And now that you look back, you realize, but my sister was in junior high.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That explains everything
Yeah,
right
my
there.
sister was
A
15.
junior high girl, yeah. That
So
explains it all.
Was it
that's
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that there's sometimes that your parents are like, tell me the truth. I won't get mad if you tell me the truth. And then they get mad when you tell them the truth. And there's sometimes you try so hard to do the right thing and it just doesn't go as planned. That's what I'm wondering is going on with Elijah. He followed the laws in Deuteronomy. He followed what God told him to do. He showed up, he prophesied this great sign. There's been a drought for 3 years. Is that not a sign that God is powerful? Then they have this big showdown. Is that not a sign that God's not powerful? Why did everyone not repent? Did I not do enough? Was these signs not big enough? Was I sinful? Like, what happened that like nothing changed? Nothing changed. Now the king and queen are trying to kill me. I did the right thing. I showed them that they were wrong. Why are they trying to kill me? And I just think Elijah couldn't imagine this going badly. And now he's on the run.
Okay.
So that's my explanation. I don't know if that's my interpretation of why Elijah flip-flops and is all of a sudden like, oh no, everything's wrong. It's because he did the right thing and everything's still bad. So what do you all
Was it the right thing? Was it the right thing to kill 450 priests?
According to the law.
According to Deuteronomy, it was.
It was.
We today have a problem with that, but according to Deuteronomy, he did the right thing.
Okay, okay.
But that said, I do think there is a disconnect between what the law says and what we feel is just. And we'll see that come up again in some of Elijah's responses. And so after this point, Elijah knows that the king and queen are after him, specifically Jezebel. And Jezebel's often depicted as being the far more proactive of the two people. She's far more dominant. And so she in particular is after him. And so he goes on the run. And I'm gonna pull up a map to give us a little bit of an idea of where things are taking place and how far Elijah goes. So if you remember, let me zoom in here. We start at Mount Carmel by the ocean. And this is where the confrontation between the showdown of the two gods is going down, is on Mount Carmel. But then they go to Jezreel, which is where Ahab's other palace is. So this is the starting point for today's story. And so Elijah then goes all the way south. So he makes a run down this way and eventually is in Beersheba. So
Wow.
Elijah's going not just into Judah, but south of Judah. And Beersheba is classically considered like the bottom edge of Judah. And then later on, we're not quite there yet, he will continue on south to Mount Horeb.
Oh.
Which Horeb has a lot of significance. It is so far south, it is not technically on this map, but just to show you how far Elijah is going to run to get out of the reach of Jezebel. So as long as Elijah is in the green zone, he's kind of fair game. So he goes into the purple area and then even farther out of the purple area into like other countries' territories.
So Jezebel is a very scary person.
Yeah, she is. She's terrifying. Any other questions about map stuff? All right. So, he goes a day's journey, or so he goes to Beersheba. He has like a servant with him. He leaves the servant in Beersheba and goes another day south. And then he has gone so far, he kind of just collapses in exhaustion. And that's when he has the line, "It is enough now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am no better than my ancestors." And then he just like kind of curls up and goes to sleep. Then an angel of the Lord, or remember, angel, messenger, same word, like gently wakes him up and says, like, come on, come on, Elijah, you need to eat a little bit of food. You need to drink some water. And he just wakes up and he sees food, hotcakes ready on a hot stone. And then he eats, he goes back to sleep. The angel of the Lord wakes him up again and says, "Hey, you need to get up. You need to eat, or else the journey is going to be too much for you." And there's food prepared, food and water prepared there once again. So what do you think of this little episode of God sending an angel to make sure Elijah has enough food?
Hmm.
What aspects of God? We've often seen God as a warrior, God the strong God, God the God in the pillar of fire or cloud. What kind of description do you give God who gives someone hotcakes? Who makes pancakes? This is a God making pancakes. Yeah, Clay?
Well, he's nurturing at this
Yeah.
moment, but there's obviously something he wants accomplished, and it's not going to get accomplished if Elijah doesn't have the strength and stamina to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and maybe God has decided that, geez, Elijah did the right thing, and look what happened to him. I'd better go do something, to make up for it. Try to salvage something out of this.
Yeah.
There's a feeling to me when I was reading it that God was reliable and persistent, and he stuck with them day after day. And it wasn't just one flash in the pan. He's hanging right with them all the way.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a steadfast tenderness here. We
Mm-hmm.
often talk about God as like God the Father, or sometimes we bring out motherly imagery in God. To me, this is God acting like a grandparent. Like not the parent who scolds you and disciplines you, not the parent that's giving you hard lessons. No, this is grandma waking you up and giving you pancakes. And that steadfast tenderness, I just love in this little episode here. In the way that grandparents can be supporters of children in a very different way than like parents are. And so what does it say that in the Gary, you're like, this is God being steadfast. So what does it say that God is being tender and steadfast when Elijah is exhausted? Dare I say he's burnt out? What does that show about God here?
Not done with them.
He was reliable. I mean, he understood it. It was compassionate, understood his situation, and he's just going to take him one day at a time, and we're going to get through this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know that often God in scripture has it sounds very demanding at times. The rules we're supposed to follow are fairly steep. Even in Jesus's teachings. Jesus's teachings are difficult. And here that we're going to take it one day at a time. Like God is meeting Elijah where he is. Not going to ask too much of it. It's like you're tired. Okay. Okay, I hear you. You're still my guy, but you're tired. So we're going to give you some rest. Oh, don't forget to eat. We're going to eat. We're not done yet. But you get a rest. And I think that's also important to see that God is allowing for that rest and recuperation, that God's not demanding us to burn ourselves out for the ministry. And especially Elijah, who has just done a lot. It's like, okay, I hear you. You're distressed. Deep breath. Woo, food. Let's keep going. And so after the second meal, Elijah gets up and he journeys much farther south for 40 days and 40 nights.
Midnight. Yeah.
That should ring some bells. So those are some of the magic numbers. Where else do we see these numbers?
Moses.
Moses. Okay, what does Moses do for 40 days and 40 nights?
Well, let's see. There were two times, weren't there? Let's see. But when he left Egypt, but I was thinking that after they were denied going into the, oh, wait a minute. I think I'm mixed up. I'm sorry.
No, you're actually on target. So
I was wondering if it was after God told them he couldn't go into the promised land.
right, so the Hebrew people wandered the desert for 40 years. So that and if you remember the map that I just showed you, Elijah has gone far, far south into the Sinai Peninsula is where he is, and he's going to be there for 40 days and 40 nights, which is symbolic of the 40 years that the Israelites are in the Sinai Peninsula in the wilderness.
Mhm.
This is often a time that is remembered as, even though the people grumble and complain and whine, the Deuteronomistic historian looks back and saying that is when the Israelite people's relationship to God was the closest. They were reliant on God. They had very direct communication. This is an area that is symbolically a area where God and the people commune very closely. So there's another time that 40 days comes up. And Sue, I don't know, I think you're thinking of a few things, but you were accurate in saying Moses had a 40-day and 40 night. By any chance,
Yeah.
does anyone remember this?
Was he up on the mountain getting the 10 Commandments?
Yes! You are
Oh, that
exactly
time. Okay.
yes. And what mountain was Moses on?
I didn't realize that was 40 days and 40 nights.
Sinai?
Yes.
Sinai? Was it Mount Sinai?
Yes. So Mount Sinai is where Moses was on for 40 days and 40 nights getting the 10 Commandments. The other question is, what's another name for Mount Sinai? It has two names.
Horeb.
Yeah, it's Horeb.
Yeah, that was in the footnotes.
So the reference Exodus 34, verse 27, this is so the Lord said to Moses, write these words in accordance with the words that I have made a covenant with you and for Israel, and he was there with the Lord for 40 days and 40 nights. So Elijah has now walked so far south that he is back on Mount Horeb, and he has gone 40 days and 40 nights without food and water like Moses did.
Water.
So, what are we going to expect happens if Elijah is on Mount Horeb for 40 days and 40 nights? Do you all remember another episode that happened to Moses on Mount Horeb when Moses was tired and feeling defeated because I'll give you a hint. When Moses had the first set of the commandments and he walked down like, yay, people, we got instructions from God. What did he find at the bottom of the mountain?
Golden calf.
The golden calf,
Yeah.
right. And what were the people doing?
Worshipping Baal.
Partying.
Worshipping Baal, right. And so he smashes the tablets, he goes up the mountain, and do you all remember what happens after after that episode? So can someone or I don't, like I said, I don't want to talk too much. Is there anyone that can find Exodus 33 really quick?
No.
So we're going Exodus 33 verse 17 through 23. Well, yeah.
Not the burning bush.
No, burning bush is earlier. Yeah, you have it, Joe? So 33:17 through 23. Go.
And the Lord had replied to Moses, "Yes, I will do what you have asked, for you have certainly found favor with me, and you are my friend." Then Moses asked to see God's glory. The Lord replied, "I will make my goodness pass before you, and I will announce to you the meaning of my name. Jehovah the Lord, I show kindness and mercy to anyone I want to, but you may not see the glory of my face, for man may not see me and live. However, stand here on this rock beside me, and when my glory goes by, I will put you in the cleft of the rock and cover you with my hand until I have passed. Then I will remove my hand, and you shall see my back, but not my face."
It's an interesting translation. What is that translation?
You're reading from. Okay,
This
the
is
secret's out. She's been cheating all along.
this is my this is the Living Bible, the way.
The way. Okay. That's a translation that tries to put it in more common English.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it smooths out some of the wonky grammar that we get translating from Hebrew into English.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So what similarities are we seeing? Because now Elijah is on Mount Horeb. He's been there for 40 days and 40 nights. What happens next? He's put into a cave or a cleft in the rock.
Hey, yeah, yeah.
And he's waiting for God to pass by. So, the thing is, there's a lot of similarities here. The commentary points out that Elijah is doing the story of the people of Israel, but in reverse. He starts in the promised land. He makes the exodus, or he exits out. Well, it also starts with the worship of other gods, but then he exits out of the promised land. The 40 days and 40 nights take place before seeing God, which in Moses it was the reverse. God, or Moses saw God and then spent 40 days and 40 nights. And now Elijah is going to see God pass by. What is different, though, other than just kind of having the timeline work backwards?
Well, God seems more nurturing and caring. It doesn't seem, he's not, in the previous passage, he's there, but he's setting limits on,
Mm-hmm.
you can't see my face and live.
Right.
I
Yeah, there's I think a different way to say this in I think
Yeah.
we're getting at a very important point. In Exodus, God has like a body and Moses isn't allowed to see God's face. He's able to see his rump and backside, but God is assumed to have like a corporeal form.
Okay.
This passage doesn't refer to God having a body.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as we've talked to, remember how we've kind of talked about the evolution of the monotheistic thought? At this point, we are more into the invisible celestial God, the God that's kind of omnipresent. There's still a little bit of geolocality here, there is, but God's more like spiritual entity and less heavenly body, heavenly guy with a body. So there's another aspect that it plays into this. When God passed by Moses, there's not really a lead up to God. God just kind of passes by and then like God like removes God's hand to show Moses. What do you make of the fire and the wind and the earthquake? Because that's not present in the other story. It deals with this kind of spiritual entity, like the idea of what is God. Why is it important to have the fire and the wind and the earthquake?
I guess it emphasizes God's power.
Mm-hmm. Right. But it also says that God is not in the fire, and God is not in the wind, and
Not
God is
in
not in the earthquake. So it is God is powerful, but God's not in these natural forces.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
And
But he controlled them. We brought them about, did he not? I mean, it wasn't just happenstance.
right. And that is the important distinction. So in Exodus, when there is a pillar of fire, God is in the fire. Here,
Yeah.
God is controlling the fire, but not
Fire.
in the fire.
In the fire. Yeah. Gotcha.
Why does that make a difference?
Is it because he's above it? He's not bound by just the rules that he makes the rules.
Right. It is a kind of an expansion of what God is, and it's closer to what we imagine. Like when storms happen, we don't think, oh, that's God in the cloud. It is we are seeing God become more abstract. God doesn't need a body. God doesn't need fire to show up. God controls fire. And so it's showing the evolution of thought, and God's becoming abstract. God doesn't really have a face anymore. God is abstraction.
Is there I remember when I was studying this in college, it was a long time ago, and it was with the first RSV. There's a still small voice.
Yes.
And where I keep looking for that. And
so this is a translation issue. So let's see, where is it? So verse
I wonder
12.
if when he woke up, but it doesn't say still small voice. And
No.
then there was something that said in the previous chapter, it said it was in there, but I couldn't find it. So
Yeah, Clay?
It's verse 12, and mine has a still small voice. I have the Revised Standard Version, and mine uses
okay.
the words still. So look at whatever the last words of verse 12 are.
Yeah.
That's what your translation said, which is one reason I don't care for super modern translations. I like things like still small voice. So I don't know what other translations say.
Mine just says, then there came a voice to him that said, what are you doing here, Elijah?
So this is
Yeah, I have that too. Yeah.
Okay.
This is one where the Hebrew is a little bit ambiguous, and it doesn't translate well.
Okay.
This is a phrase that just doesn't fit into English syntax. So you are correct. It is at the end of 12. My Bible says a sound of sheer silence.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here, I'm just going to read straight from the notes because I think it explains it fairly well, the commentator in mine. The sound of sheer silence, meaning uncertain. The translation suggests that no new revelation followed the appearance of the wind and the earthquake and the fire, for the text does not indicate that God was in the silence either. Other renderings are a gentle little breeze, a sound of a light whisper, and the traditional a still small voice. The latter two translations suggest some sort of verbal revelation that did not take place. So here's some of the connotations that are likely being worked in. So the word for spirit and breath, like you breathing, are the same word. Because in the Hebrew mind, or in the Hebrew worldview, your breath is your spirit. And when your spirit leaves the body is when you stop breathing. And so when God blows over the deep at the beginning of creation, that is God's spirit hovering over the water. Both translations are often used. The reason why historians think that God's first name is Yahweh is because it is very breathy. It's Yahweh. It sounds like a breath. That's how we got that term. And it's because that is spirit. So what is implied is in the silence, there's like a breeze or a breath, or it's God's spirit. It has that primordial breath over the water, spirit moving. It's not really a voice. God's not saying anything. It's like God's essence is moving. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And so that's why if you see all the little nuances that are just embedded in these Hebrew words, we don't have a way to translate that because breath and spirit are not the same term for us, but it's kind of like God's moving. And so one of the things that I was thinking about the last time I preached about this is Mount Horeb has been traditionally a place where God is geolocated, meaning that God is physically present on the top of the mountain. With the fire and with the earthquake and with the wind, that is moving down the mountain because like Elijah's like tucked into the cleft of the mountain and we see these come first. And as we have said, the presence of God has this sense of danger to it. And it feels like God is moving, which it seems to me to imply that God is walking down the mountain. Except in this version of the story, in this version, unlike Moses, God doesn't really have a body. God is more like wind or breath. It's the spirit of God that's moving down the mountain, going from heaven to earth. So God is moving towards Israel, but pauses to talk to Elijah. So in a way, the earthquake and the fire and the wind are God's entourage. It's the showing, it's like God's about to show up, like trumpets calling. God doesn't need trumpeters. God has the fire and the wind. God, those are not God. Those are the announcements that God is coming. But when God is here, it's that breathy wind. Also, hey B, glad to I saw you join in. I want to say hi. So when God is kind of like pausing, the breath of God is here. It's God's spirit is like with Elijah. The first thing God says is, "What are you doing here?" Which I think is hilarious because
Oh,
God
yeah,
invited Elijah up the mountain and then goes, "Why are you here?" And so Elijah recites the same thing he said before. I have been zealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for Israel. I have forsaken your covenant, or the Israelites have forsaken your covenant, thrown down the altars, killed your prophets. I alone am left. So he may be like not as panicky, but he's still equally as depressed as he was before. So what do you make of this? The fact that he recites the same darn thing he said before. What's this showing about his mental state? What is he fixating on?
He's done it wrong again. He's confused or something. Like, but wait a minute, you told me to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. He's also jumping up and down and saying, I did it was me.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, I did what you told me.
Mhm.
I've been very zealous,
Okay.
but also people are trying to kill me. God, I did what you said, and now people are trying to kill me. Excuse me? I did what you said. But so the other point where I jump into interpretation, and this is me reading into the text, not necessarily what's there. Elijah is burnt out. He did everything he was told to do, but he has yet to find a new purpose. The plan didn't go the way he thought it would, it went disastrously. He thought he was going to be a national hero. He's not a national hero. He is now Israel's most wanted. But he also doesn't know what's next. He doesn't know how to think beyond what is already in the past. And so this is where God helps Elijah move from what happened to what's going to happen. God gives him a new purpose. Yeah, Larry?
He also makes reference to the fact that he's the only one left. Yeah, so you sort of wonder what happened to all everybody else. Did Jezebel slaughter all of them, or what?
Commentators say that Elijah is exaggerating in the same way that like sometimes our brains lie to us, and when we think I'm all alone, no one's left, and it's like, calm down, you have a community. Because at the end, God says, after like political stuff's about to happen, some assassinations are about to happen, and God's gonna save 7,000 Israelites that have not bowed down to Baal, which means there are still people left. Elijah just feels alone.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's important to distinguish. Elijah feels alone, but he is not alone.
Hello.
So before we go to the next instruction, there's another important piece of Elijah, which is why Elijah becomes so important from like this point on. And for this, we are going to flip to, if someone can find Deuteronomy 18. We have another section to read that, unfortunately, when we went through Deuteronomy, I skipped this part, so this one's probably brand new. Let me know when someone has brought up Deuteronomy 18:15.
I've got it. The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet. Is that it?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. You want me to read more?
So let's see. Let's read 15 through 18.
Okay. The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among your own people. You shall heed such a prophet. This is what you requested of the Lord your God at Horeb on the day of the assembly, when you said, if I hear the voice of the Lord my God any more, or ever again see this great fire, I will die. Then the Lord replied to me, they are right in what they have said.
I will raise up a prophet from them, a prophet like you, aka Moses, from among their own people. I will put my words in their mouth, in the mouth of the prophet, who shall speak to them and do everything that I have commanded. So it then goes on. We've talked about before how we say, like, how do you know a prophet is correct? And this is later, or in a few verses, it says, if the things come true, that's how you know you have a true prophet. And if the things don't come true, then you don't have a true prophet. And so this is a very important promise that God makes to say, because if you remember in Deuteronomy, Moses is about to go up the mountain and die. And Moses is not going to be with the people when they enter the promised land. And so the people are like, we are too sinful. If we see God's face too much, if we see the holy fires, we're going to perish because God's just too holy for us. So send us basically an interpreter, send us a prophet, send someone who will speak on behalf of God. And God says, okay, I will raise up a prophet like Moses for you. And you're to do what they say. So why is this verse important with Elijah? Are you all making the connections of why Elijah might be invoked with this passage? Or say it this way. Yeah, oh yeah, Clay.
Is it because he's now going to get Elisha?
Not quite.
Not quite. Okay.
So think about the moment on the mountain where Elijah encountered God. What is that similar to? What were we comparing it to the whole time? Moses.
Moses,
Elijah is
yeah.
acting like Moses.
Yeah.
He has
Mm.
confronted the people's idolatry. He has seen God like Moses did. He went to Mount Horeb and got direct words from God. Elijah is seen as the prophet that God sent, like Moses. Where a lot of the other prophets have the words of God, Elijah is seen as the prophet to take Moses's mantle or his authority. So that is why Elijah is so important, is because he is the prophet like Moses.
Okay.
And we assume that Elijah,
Whoops, we lost him. So
Oh,
here's the thing in scripture that we also don't want to lose. Who acts like Elijah then? So if Elijah acts like Moses, who acts like Elijah?
Jesus.
Yes. What does Jesus also do?
He does it 40 days and 40 nights.
In the wilderness. Yes. What does Jesus also do that's like Moses and like Elijah?
He gives the law. Well, Elijah doesn't do that.
Elijah gives predictions. He doesn't give the law in the same way, but Jesus does. So you see the echoes and the repetition where Jesus is like Moses, but Jesus is like Elijah, and Elijah is like Moses. We'll get to Elisha, who in a moment, but this is one where this is why the tradition matters, that these stories are echoed. They're not a repeat, but it's like a remix. Every time one is remixing on the other, and it's important to know the ways that Jesus looks like both Elijah and Moses, and the fact that in Deuteronomy it says, I'm going to send you someone like Moses. People are looking out for them. So. Alrighty, we are very close on time, so I'm gonna zoom us close to the end, and because I want to get to a little bit of Elisha. So what God, the next plan that God gives Elijah to do is you are going to anoint Hazazel over Aram. That is not an Israelite nation. That is another nation that I believe that is to the northeast of Israel and is an enemy of Israel. And so God has control over international politics, and that's important. So Elijah is going to go north and east, anoint a king over there. You're going to anoint Jehu, king of Israel, and Jehu is going to challenge King Ahab. So you're going to anoint two competitors to the king that's trying to kill you. And then you're going to anoint Elisha. Yes, their names are very similar. The distinction is very clear in Hebrew. It's we tend to pronounce our J's differently, so we will work hard to distinguish Elijah and Elisha. Get ready. And between these trio, you have your successor, so you're no longer alone. I know, Elijah, you feel alone. Now you have someone to take on after you, and then you're going to anoint two competitors to take out the king. So that's the plan going ahead. And so Elijah goes down the mountain, and at the bottom of the mountain, Elisha is plowing the fields with 12 oxen. He is the 12th son. And what he does, the mantle is like a strip of fabric you wear around your neck. My stole is considered a mantle. So I have one back here. I meant to grab this before. What Elijah does is he doesn't actually anoint Elisha. What he does is he runs up, he takes it off, and he like throws it on him. Which this is the symbol of authority. So it's one of those that if you're not ordained, you can wear robes like that. That doesn't matter. But the stole is the sign of ecclesial authority. And so Elijah's authority is in his stole, and he just throws it on this guy as he's working in the field. But then Elisha asks, he's like, "Hey, can I like finish what I'm doing here?" And Elijah says, "Go back, just continue what you're doing." Basically saying, if you're not committed, if you don't want this, I don't want you. I'll come back another time. And it's kind of like a threat of like, not a threat, but like Elijah wants someone who is committed. And so instead, Elisha goes to his 12 oxen, slaughters them, and they set up a big feast, but it's also a point of no return. He just in the sermon I preached on this, it's like he sacrificed the family car to follow this priest. Like he can't farm without the 12 oxen. So this is like no turning back. Yes, I'm your disciple. Yes, I'm ready to go. Let's make this official. And they have a big old feast. And that's where we leave it off today. So I know that was a quick wrap up for the ending. Any thoughts on Elisha and that story?
Okay, if Elijah is passing his mantle to Elisha, does that mean he's going to die or?
Eventually.
Okay.
He's training up his successor, so it will take a few I think he doesn't actually get zoomed up into heaven until Second Kings, but
Okay.
we're actually fairly close to that. So Elisha is not going to be around too much longer.
Mm-hmm.
So one last quick Bible verse that relates to this. Once again, we have a Jesus parallel here. So in Luke chapter 9, verse 62, Jesus says, "No one who puts the hand to the plow and looks back is fit for the kingdom of heaven." It's that same image of if you want to go forward, you can't look backwards, using the plow imagery. So Jesus also says, if you are going to keep plowing your fields, keep plowing your fields. If you want to follow me, you follow me.
Oh.
So once again, kind of taking from the Elijah metaphor and putting it into Jesus's ministry and mouth. So any final thoughts for today? I know there's a lot going into this one, a lot of references, a lot of explanation. Any final thoughts?
I know I'm late, very late here, but I all the way through when Elijah kept saying, in my version of the Bible, I have been very jealous for the Lord. Now you've been using the word zealous.
Yes. So we today associate zealousness with the Zealots, which was a political movement during Jesus's time that has kind of a negative connotation of people who were so enthusiastic they were willing to commit murder. It is the tradition of the Zealots is also tainted by Judas Iscariot, who is thought to be a zealot. And so we see that term as very negative. It doesn't originally have that context, where zealousness is like exuberance, like over enthusiastic. It is that like I'm willing to go to the ends of the earth to make things happen. I am focused, I am single-minded on this. Nothing can distract me. The very zealous of like burning passion for this. So it's the negative political connotations only really come about much later. if that helps. So Elijah is saying, like, I have been in single-minded pursuit to serving you, is a different way to say it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Like Elijah, oh, yeah?
Well, right as my computer died, I was curious that is Elijah aware of the story of Moses when he's going through all this with God?
I can't answer that. I don't know. This is
I just wondered how much the history they knew when they were going through these.
Elijah sounds like he is a person who is well acquainted with scripture. I mean, he knows Deuteronomy, he knows the laws, and if he knows the laws, it's probably that he knows the story of Moses.
Okay.
I will say this is one where we are not in the annals of the court. This is more spiritual, less historical part of the Bible. It's more in legend. And so it's hard to say whether, like, how much Elijah actually knew what was going on. And there's also sometimes where we repeat things and we don't realize that we're doing exactly what someone else does because we're in the moment. And I'm going to take a guess that says that if Elijah's going through this, he's not thinking, what parallels are going on? He is distraught and fearful, and I don't think he's using his academic mind at this point in time. I think the commentators afterwards made it very clear in how they wrote the story that these are supposed to be parallels.
Okay.
And also remembering that 40 days and 40 nights, that just means a long, long time. He was out there for a while. Like, that's one of the times where the number doesn't really matter. What matters is the conception of, like, he was there a month. Long period of time. Any other final thoughts or questions? Alrighty, let's pray ourselves out for today. Gracious and loving God, we want to be enthusiastic followers. Like Elijah, we have high hopes for the way things could go. We can envision a world that is better, one that is more faithful and honest. And often, God, when we try to do the right things, the world does not respond in kind. Often there's forces and powers that don't want things to be better, that likes the way that things are and will push back as we try to make things better. So as we do this work, give us rest when we need rest. Be that comforting presence with a little bit of food and a nap, and remind us to take breaks. For even though we might be zealous for you and your justice and your love, we also need time to pause. In the times where we need to see you, help us to see your wind and your spirit move in our lives, where we can hear that still small voice, where we can feel that breeze and know that you are not in the chaos, but you are there with us in the still moments. And help us always look to the future of what the next step is and where you are calling us next. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
And we want to wish Chris a happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Thursday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah, it's in 2 days, but thank you.
Aw, that's great.
Have a great week, everybody.
Yes, thank you, you too.
Take care.